Let's talk. Giles Brown.
It is the time of the show where we are joined by our compatriots, the people who know, the people who are extremely early. Of course, I'm joined as always by the team from Spence. Clarke. Good morning, Claudia.
Good morning.
You were here bright and early this morning, weren't you?
Yes, that's true.
and have it. First of all, apologies for getting your surname wrong again.
No worries.
For some reason, I just get stuck on Osorio, which it's not. It's Osorio, and I don't know why I think it's when it's on the page.
No, people also call me Javier instead of
Javier,
Javier or Javier.
Yeah.
So I'm used to that.
You're
no
used
worries.
Well, I'm very sorry because I've known you for so long now. I just get this. I just get Giles or Giles or Gil.
That's our revenge.
That, yes, indeed. If you want to get involved with today's show, if you've got any questions for the team, Spence, Clarke, then the numbers are 952 78 4000. You can WhatsApp me on +34 645 99 67 95. Or you can, if you're feeling bashful, you can email me at studio@tre.radio. Claudia, so, okay, today, M720 are we talking about? And declaration of non-Spanish assets, and the M721. They sound like motorways to me. So here we are again. So have we? I mean, it's like the football season, isn't it? We've already kicked off the first tax campaign of the year.
Yeah, that's right. The UP.
The what?
No,
Yippee. Oh, yippee! I thought the UP. That's another.
No.
This is the UP. If it's not paid by next week, we're going to embargo your account.
That could happen.
Could work. Yeah.
Could work. No, yes. Every year, the beginning of the year is always quite hectic because we have these little two brothers, M720 and the even little 721 declaration, which are very specific filings. And that's why it's important for people to understand them properly to avoid unnecessary problems and issues.
Well, we've touched on the M720 before, but for those who perhaps weren't listening or might be hearing about it for the first time, just explain what it actually involves.
Yeah, absolutely. The M720 is what we call an informative declaration, which means that it does not generate any tax liability itself, so you don't have to pay anything by the time of submission. Essentially, its purpose is to notify the Spanish tax office of the assets that you have outside of Spain. Of course, as with any other declaration, there is a threshold where you will have to declare if you are over at, and in this case, it's 50,000 euros in any of the main categories that we have in the N720. It must submit it every year between January and March, and this year the deadline is 31st of March.
So, quick question here, just. When you say assets, so in the total over 50 or each individual asset? So if I've got a car in the UK that is 20,000 euros, and I've got a boat which is 30,000 euros, that's 50,000 in total. So how does
Yeah. Well, first of all, the declaration needs to be submitted by residents only. Okay, I'm going to answer. And answering your questions, the declaration is divided into three categories. Okay.
Yeah.
Category 1, properties. The other is investments, and the other is bank accounts. Okay, and to trigger each category, the total value of the assets within that category has to be 50,000 euros. Okay, so if you have only one bank account, which, all your bank accounts, which are 20,000 is what you said, then it would trigger the first year. Now, there's, that is the rules for the first year. Now, if you have already submitted a declaration, okay, so imagine last year you declared a property because it was over 50,000 euros, but you had your bank account that you said was 20,000. It wasn't declared. Now, this year, the value of your bank accounts is 50,000 euros. Now, the second rule, which I did not mention, was once you've submitted, you submit again if the value of the assets that you declared previously increases in 20,000 euros. So if the first year your bank accounts was 20,000 euros, but this year they're 60,000 euros, you will need to declare the bank accounts because they have increased in value.
Okay. Yeah.
So that answers your question?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Absolutely. yeah. So, I mean, are you declaring the balance then, if it's...
Yes, if it's bank accounts, what you declare is the balance at 31st of December or the average quarter of the last year, of the fourth quarter. Those are for properties, and for investments is the value at 30. No, sorry, I made a mistake there. Sorry, for investments is the value at 31st of December, and for properties it is the purchase price. Remember, very confusing declaration, but this is how it is.
Okay, all right. So what about if...
It's not the value of the property at 31st, it's the value at purchase price.
Okay, so talking about property, what if you've got a jointly owned property? If you've got a couple who've got a place in the UK worth 60,000, with each partner, each spouse owning 50%, do they still need to declare it?
Yes, and this is one of the things that people often find surprising, because it's, unlike the wealth tax, the N720 looks into the total value of the asset, regardless the ownership. So in this case, as the property is 60,000 euros, that will trigger the 50,000 threshold, and each spouse will have to declare a property for 60,000 euros and indicating that they each own 50%, because there is a specific box in the N720 declaration to show the percentage of ownership. In essence, the tax office wants to know the total exposure of your assets outside of Spain, not just individual ownership.
Okay, that kind of makes sense for property, but what about joint bank accounts? What happens if you as a couple you've got 50,000 euros, across the accounts?
It works the same way. The total balance of the account is considered first, and then the ownership percentage is recorded. So in that example, again, both spouses will be required to declare the bank accounts. Actually, for bank accounts, the N720 also introduced the concept of being authorized in a bank account. So let's say that your mom has a bank account and you have a power of attorney so that you can operate with that bank account. Even with that, you will have to declare that property, even though you don't have the ownership of the bank account. You are just authorized, and that is a kind of ownership that the N720 recognizes.
So if you, for example, if your parents are older or something like that and you need power of attorney in case something happens, you would have to declare that in your, even though you can't go to the bank or have a card and take the...
Yeah.
Wow.
That will trigger to the total balance value.
Yeah.
And you will have to take that into consideration. Or even if you own a company and that company has a bank account and you are authorized to operate with that bank account, that is also a bank account that needs to be considered for the N720.
We've had clients who were super scared because they were saying, but my N720 has 200,000 euros in my name, but I'm only the director and I only have powers of signing. How can this be? But yes, but there's a box where you say what you ask, if you're the owner, if you have powers of attorney or whatever. But it's very, very, very worrying. As I say, it's a crazy, worrying.
No.
It's just very
challenging.
I would
That's
say,
the word we go for, as always, So we mentioned earlier that the M720 is different from a wealth tax.
I'm gonna.
Come on.
I'm gonna.
Should we stand back now? Is this where you go? Yes.
No, you're gonna like this
Okay,
one.
okay.
I promise. I
Okay,
promise, because
right.
I'm gonna mention something that you like. So anyway.
I know what this is. Okay.
So anyway, what's the difference? Yes, the M720, as Javier said before, is just informative. So there's no tax to pay, and also you only declare your foreign assets. Now, the wealth tax, however, you need to declare your worldwide assets, and as the word wealth tax says, you pay tax on these assets. Now, as the wealth tax belongs to the autonomous region where you're resident, paying wealth tax depends where you live. So in communities like Madrid, Murcia, Andalusia, it's exempt up to 3.7, and then you have Catalonia where the limit is only 500,000. So depending on that, you pay wealth tax. Now, the national wealth tax, as you know, is called
The grandes fortunas. Large
Exactly.
80s cigarettes for everybody's.
So
See, some people will get this joke, yeah, and other people will go, what is he talking about?
So this is another wealth tax called, as Giles said, Impuesto de Grandes Fortunas, and it's a national wealth tax, and anybody who has worldwide assets and is resident of Spain and the total value is more than 3.7 million euros, you have to pay this tax. Now, if you've already paid wealth tax before in your autonomous region, this will be deducted from the total bill as double tax, because you can't pay twice this wealth tax.
Okay, and just the wealth tax covers both,
All your assets.
all the other assets. So
Everything you can think.
Art investments, boats,
Jewelry,
car,
boats and everything, because the M720 doesn't have this.
yeah.
So
it's
yeah.
the other stuff.
Yeah,
My collection
exactly.
of
Rolex.
scale.
Don't hide it, Giles, I know.
little model cars. All right then. Are there? Yeah, sad but true. Are there any other aspects of the M720? So I love doing this show. The M720 that people can get confused about, because I'm already sort of a little bit. Harry, you look like you know what you took. Please.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there are quite a few. One common mistake is thinking that the 50,000 euros threshold applies to individual assets. In reality, it applies to the total value of the category. Mm-hmm. So if someone has 5 bank accounts with 10,000 euros each, he may think that he doesn't need to declare, but as the total is over 50,000, you have to declare everything, or everything within the bank accounts. This includes accounts with zero balance that you might have forgot about those. So that's important. Another area of confusion is the rules about declaring again. And even, I would say, sometimes can be stupid. Let's say that you arrived to Spain the first year and you had a bank account in the UK with €1 million. That first year, you have an M720 obligation and you declare a bank account with €1 million. The next year, you have the same million, and by December, you decide to close that bank account. And you move the same money within 10 different bank accounts. For M720, you only have to say that you have closed a bank account. And you don't have to report the 10 new bank accounts. Even though if you put this in Cayman Island or in Gibraltar or whatever, because the threshold, the total balance has not increased in more than 20,000, because you still have 1 million in bank accounts, you don't have to declare again the total category. And therefore, the only thing that you have to declare is the closure of the previous bank account. By your face, I see that you are confused about this, but
it's logic.
Well, hang on. So if I have, say I had an account with Banco de Jerez or whatever that I've forgotten about, and there's like €3, I still have to go and go, there's €3 in Banco there.
The first time.
When
your limit was over 50,000 euros, you have to declare €3 with all the other bank accounts.
Okay, so but if I don't have over 50,000 euros, I don't have to.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to work. So that's fine. That's that one that I made. But if you have $1 million in a UK bank account, you've declared it.
Yeah.
First time round, and then you close the bank account.
If the money is the same, it's still €1 million.
Yeah.
You still have €1 million in bank accounts. So the total value of the category has not increased in 20,000 euros, and therefore you don't have an obligation of redeclaring the total category. But one of the rules is if you have closed a bank account, you have to declare that closure because the bank account was previously declared.
Right.
So you don't have to inform of any new bank accounts as long as the value is still below €1 million.
Yeah.
Right.
In other words, imagine that you have one bank account with €1 million, and you decide to close that one, but open 10 with 100,000. Yeah. Those 10 do not need to be declared because the value is still €1 million. Hasn't gone up in 20,000 euros, but you have to declare the one you closed. But suddenly the Spanish tax office don't know about these 10 bank accounts. They still know about the one you closed. Yes, and we have analyzed this, and this doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah,
at all. Yeah. I know all this information they want to know, but then if you do this, they don't have the information because you're complying with the rules.
Uh-huh. Okay, but
imagine the following year you have 1,020,000.
Yeah, because of the interest on the account.
Then you will need to declare all those 10 bank accounts.
Okay,
It's always about looking at the total value, at the total balance of the bank accounts. If it triggers the 20,000 euros increase, you have to declare everything. If not, what was declared in the past, it still remains, and there is nothing to be declared again.
Okay, that's going to have some fun and games with that one because. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I know. It doesn't make sense.
You're holding a note that says it doesn't make sense to the average person.
It doesn't, because imagine you have a boat of 500,000 euros. Why don't you need to declare that? However, you need to declare bank accounts up to 50,000 euros.
Yeah, but I'm just looking. Because you'll always get interest on the bank, so therefore, okay. Well, I'm sure they'll look at that individually. I mean, and also because we are not all one currency, obviously. So, I mean, exchange rates are going to have if the exchange rates fluctuate.
Yeah, of course, and that is a common mistake that clients make, because if your asset is outside the EU, so you in the UK or in Canada or in the US, you don't have euros, you have another exchange rate, and if this exchange rate increases the value of your bank account, your investment, then you would need to declare it if it triggers in 20,000 euros. And people just say, oh yeah, I still have my 100,000 pounds that maybe in euros 1 year it was, I don't know, let's say 140,000 euros. Yeah, and you declared 140,000 euros, and then the following year, because of bank account, because of the exchange rate, it goes to 160. There's your 20,000 euros, and he says, "Oh, I still have the 100,000." No, with euros you have more. You have to declare, and that's a common mistake.
Right, I got a question in here from on the WhatsApp, which is +34645 9967 95. I thought we might get this. Morning, Giles. I took a small private UK pension at the end of last year, and it was taxed at source in the UK. Do I have to declare that?
Okay,
well, that is more a question for income tax than for N720. But I assume that this person is a Spanish tax resident, because otherwise it will there will be no DAP. But yes, he will have to declare that in Spain, because if he is a Spanish tax resident, he is subject to tax on the worldwide income, and therefore a private UK pension will be subject to tax in Spain, and actually probably not in the UK. So he will have to pay the tax in Spain and then claim back the UK tax.
And if it's a private pension, it should be declared in the M720. It's not that straightforward what he's saying.
It's a private UK pension. So it's not a state pension, it's a private.
Yeah, but sometimes they say private, and it's to do with people who have been working for a company, and they name it private.
Okay.
And that's not a private, that's a working pension.
Yeah.
So private, when we consider private, it's not when you're the employers have
you've got
paid.
Your own,
you've gone to exactly. So it depends. If it was their employer who contributed, it's considered a work pension, and it's not included in the M720, and he should be paying tax in Spain, and he should be not paying tax in the UK. He actually needs to sort it out. And if it's a private pension where he's invested or a SIP or something like that, then he needs to declare it in the M720, and it's also taxable in Spain.
Okay, but yes, that's what so he's saying it's been taxed in the UK at source already. Yeah. It'll have to be declared here.
It needs to be declared. He needs to
speak to you guys.
He needs to obtain a certificate of tax residence in Spain and submit it to the Inland Revenue, and ask them to stop taxing him at source. He can reclaim up to 4 years back, and he needs to pay the tax in Spain.
Okay, there we go then. Excellent.
Okay.
Right. Should we talk about everybody's other favourite bit, the multas, the fines? A lot of talk. Penalties of, they'll come around and you'll never be seen. I mean, what's the situation then at the moment?
Okay, well, as you know, the fines at the beginning were enormous, and so the EU had to intervene, and the courts ruled in favour of the complaint, and fines, the great enormous fines were cancelled. And now what we have are normal normal fines normal for Spain for any informative declaration, okay, like the M7, the 347 or 349. So we're talking about a fine that is 10 euros per item. And when we say item, for example, for a bank account, an item is the name of the bank, the address of the bank, the quarterly balance, the balance at 31st of December, blah, blah, blah. Those are items. The minimum fine is 150 euros. That's the fine you get when you submit the declaration yourself late, voluntarily or late. Now, in the case you haven't declared an asset and it is the tax office who inspects you, and in this case the fines get doubled. So instead of 10 euros per item, we're talking about 20 euros per item. The minimum fine is 300 euros. The maximum that the tax office now allows is around 20,000 euros. But the problem of not declaring an asset is that when you're inspected, not only you pay more fines, is that probably if you have not declared an investment, it's got income and dividends related to it, or if it's a property, you've got rental income related to it. And this means you haven't included it in your income tax declaration. And that means apart from the fine from 720, you'll be fined also for the income tax declaration plus fines and 4 years back as well. Okay.
Ouch. Okay. So, but I mean, better to declare, and if you are running late, just declare, because otherwise, at least it's out there rather than having.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now moving on to the little brother, shall we? The M721. It's related to cryptocurrencies. Okay, this will be fun. So come on, tell me about this then, because this is going to be
Yeah, in essence, the N721 is the cryptocurrency version of the N720. It's like the little brother, as you say, because in 2012, when the N720 was introduced, cryptos were not that popular, of course, and the tax office
exist, I think, in 2012.
Yes, it did exist.
But they were not that commercial, I would say. So, of course, the tax office did not thought about this at the time and were not included in any of the categories of the N720. Uh-huh. So, a couple of years ago, they say, oh, this Bitcoin thing is heating up the market a lot, so we need to introduce something to have more control of what people have abroad, and this is important. So the N721, in essence, it works in the same way of the N720. You have to declare when the value of your cryptos is over 50,000 euros. And again, on the following years, if the total value has gone up in 20,000, you have to redeclare. If you have sold any previous declared crypto, you have to declare that sale. So the rules are just the same. The main problem with cryptos, of course, is that the values fluctuate a lot during the year and at the end of the year. So you need to take into account the value at 31st of December of each crypto. With that, you do your Excel control with all the values, and then you see if you trigger the limits or not. For example, Bitcoin in 2025 has gone up to almost $120,000. But it then went down by the end of December up to $85,000 or so. So it fluctuates a lot, and you need to have a proper tracking of the cryptos. Finally, it's important to pay attention to the little trades that you may do within your cryptos, because exchanging a crypto for other is considered, first, for income tax purposes, it's considered as a sale. Right. And that will create a capital gain. And for N720, that means that the crypto that you have, it's no longer there because you have exchanged that for a new crypto. So that means that you have to declare that in the N720 as well. So it's about paying attention and having a proper crypto dealer who is able to produce proper reports, because otherwise it can be a real mess.
You said something about the Spanish crypto. Hello, I am the Spanish. I mean, because I thought, now again, because I know nothing, as you know. So, I just like the idea of a Spanish crypto. So
the one with the castañuelas.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Coming in like Puyol to head. Anyway, that's that. But so, because I thought that it was all out there on the internet, on thingy. So how do you determine whether you have, I mean, Vox would love the Spanish crypto.
Well,
Sorry.
it depends on the custodian of the crypto. So where the custodian is the organizations who are holding it. Okay? It can be a person, it can be an entity, and it depends where the custodian is. So if the custodian is abroad, then it needs to be declared in the M721. Now, if the custodian, however, is Spanish, or if you yourself have something that's called the cold wallet, that means it's yours. This is something new.
My wallet is always cold because there's nothing in it. There's just ice blowing through it. Trust me.
Then in this scenario, you do not have to declare it because it's in Spain.
Okay, fine. Cold wallet.
The cold wallet, I know.
I was ahead of the curve. I had a cold wallet in the 80s. It was blowing through. Okay.
Is there a hot wallet?
It's like a pen drive that you have the keys to access your crypto. So if you have, and that means when you have cryptos in the cold wallet, these are not in the internet.
Okay.
So no one has any traceability of that. It's only in your pen, of course. That means that you are the custodian. It's a Spanish asset. And of course, if you lose either the keys or the wallet, you are
yes, you are in trouble. I think that's the word we're looking for. Yes, and this, I mean, really, I mean, as you can tell, me and crypto but this, I mean, this sounds like an awful lot for people to keep track. Especially, I mean, we'll talk about, but a lot of people to keep track of what's going on, especially the crypto. So, what's your final advice on this one then?
Well, we mentioned it before. Don't be stupid and declare your assets, because it's not worthwhile being inspected and paying double fines and your income tax declaration and all that. Monitor the thresholds carefully. Take into account all the deadlines, so not to pay a fine for submitting late. And any other questions, call us for professional advice at 952-82-2943, Spence Clarke, or our webpage.
Yeah, www.SpenceClarke, Spence with an E and Clarke with an E.com.
Right, and if you've got a hot wallet or a cold wallet, just brace yourself. I think this is going to be very interesting. Jeff's just said, this is the gentleman about the small private UK pension. Thanks, Giles and the panel, all done. So there you go. So there's a bit of so go on to Spence Clarke and show them the love then, Jeff, because we like to help people out. But as always, Claudia, thank you so much. I'm going to look at my hot wallet, my cold wallet, or whatever else. It's going to be a very interesting time. But I'm glad we got the grandes fortunas in there, Claudia and Javier. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Bye-bye.
as always.
Bye.